So you earned your way to November. Now it's time to prove your worth. The message now, survive just one more week. Tonight we'll recap 5 games and preview 3 that happen tomorrow, plus 1 more regular season game just for good measure. So don't go anywhere. Gridiron Glory starts right now. Playoffs? Yes, folks, playoffs. I'm your host, Blake Baker. He's co-host Noah Wolf, and we want to welcome you all to Week 11.
Yeah, and we hope all 8 teams playing this weekend are here for a while. We've got representatives from every single conference, 5 games tonight, 3 exciting games tomorrow. It's playoffs coming at you.
But we're going to start off the show tonight with a game from wild and wonderful West Virginia. We know it's time for the postseason in Ohio, but we sent TPC hockey reporter Nick Niehaus to one final regular season game. He went out to Wahama to see them square off against Buffalo.
Yeah, in West Virginia, they actually get a bye week during the season, so it's not tournament time in Wahama, but something just as important to them, senior night. And there they are smiling, but not going to be smiling for long as Price Grit goes up the middle, basically untouched, keeping that white jersey clean. Mom has got to love that. 49 yards to the end zone makes it 7-0 Buffalo early on. So Wahama trying to get their passing game started. First pass of the game is deflected and intercepted by Chase Lovejoy, giving Buffalo the ball right back. And 15 yards out, Elijah Brock, he gets the call, and he goes into the end zone. 13-0 Buffalo early. They force Wahama to punt on the ensuing drive, but they muff it, so Tanner Smith falls on the ball, giving Wahama the ball right back. And then 4th down in their own red zone. They air it out once more, but there's Chase Lovejoy once again with the clean hit to knock the ball loose. And on the ensuing drive, they end up fumbling themselves, giving Wahama the ball back again. So Wahama trying to get something started. Abram Pauly launches yet another pass and finally finds his man Tanner Smith going up, climbing the ladder. And if you can do it on offense, why not do it on defense too? Tanner Smith, once again, this time with the interception on the 20-yard line. You bet he's taking this one to the house as he dives in for the first touchdown of the night. They would lose this one, however, 42-18. And although this game didn't affect anything in the hockey, it is now officially the end of the regular season for all conference teams. But before that, I just want to talk about, I talked to the seniors before the game, and they showed me their thoughts on their final game ever.
I'm going to miss the guys. I mean, there's a bond between football players, and when you play together for so many years, I mean, you just remember each other, and there's a bond between each other, and I'm just going to miss the guys I play with.
I think it is, because, I mean, I've thought about playing next level, but it's not the same without these guys. They make it. All your friends, that's the best thing about it.
Blake, this is a really tight-knit group of White Falcons, and I asked them what they're going to miss most, and as you can see, they said the same answer. It's all about each other. That's what football's about. And as I mentioned earlier, this doesn't affect anything in the conference, but we're going to show you the final standings anyway because the regular season is finally kaput. So, at number 1 is Trimble. Let's look at it. The Trimble Tomcats ended the season on top of the hockey, and Waterford took a back seat at number 2. Belpre had a strong season going 6-4, improving from last season and finishing in conference at number 3. And the Southern Tornadoes placed just outside the top 3 at number 4. It was a crazy regular season in the hockey, but as we both know, there's 2 teams who still are in the playoffs, and they play tomorrow.
I'm certainly looking forward to those tonight. Season's not yet over for the hockey. Nick, thanks a lot. Now, the Tri-Valley Scotties, they're no strangers to the postseason. Tonight, they traveled 100 miles north to face the undefeated Barberton Magics. MVL reporter Nick Ursini was there, and he joins me live from Green High School.
Yeah, Blake, the game was moved from Barberton to Green High School because of the field conditions. So because the Magic are used to playing on grass, you would think playing on turf was going to help the Scotties. Nevertheless, this one was a defensive slugfest. 100 miles away from Dresden was not stopping the Scotties and their fans from cheering on their dogs. First Scotties possession on 4th and 1, Joseph Pantaleo takes the jet sweep, gets 4 yards for the first down, but that drive will stall. Fast forward to the second quarter, Scotties possession, Blake Sands goes up the gut for 18 yards, setting up the Scotties. They tack on a field goal for the first score of the game, a Caden Bay field goal, 3-0 with 6:27 left in the second quarter. Barberton, desperate for any offense, gets it from receiver Timothy Starcher, who reels in the deflected pass from Chase Hayward, goes for 40 yards down the sideline, though that drive results in no points. After Aiden Fritter threw a pick on 4th down, Hayward, trying to get some points on the board before half, is picked by Cade Sterling, and he returns it all the way for a pick six. 10-0 Scotties going into the half. Third quarter had little action, so let's fast forward to the fourth. 5 minutes left in the game. Magic still down 10. Hayward fumbles the snap. He's going to pick it up, but is rocked by Blake Kendrick. Falls on the ground, and Big Garrett Miller says, "I'll take that." Falls on it. That is their third turnover of the game. Last play of the game, Hayward. He's going to heave it to Derek Vaughn. It's caught, but the clock hits triple zeros, and Scotties stun the Magic's 10-0. Your final score here, Blake.
Man, they just keep getting it done. This time of week 11. Nick, should we be surprised about this Scotties team?
Well, Blake, let's throw out the regular season stats. Sure, Barberton was undefeated, and sure, they had home field advantage.
Yeah.
But you and I both know the Scotties, they're no stranger to being the underdogs.
No doubt.
It was very even to start the game. The first quarter featured punts and turnovers on downs. Then finally, Tri-Valley broke through with that field goal. This one was far from a clean game, too. Both offenses were held in check. In fact, there were no offensive touchdowns in this game.
And that's not something you see every day, no offensive touchdowns in a win. So if it was not the offense, was it all Tri-Valley's defense to pull this one out?
Well, sure, the 3 turnovers forced were huge, but it's not like the Scotties took much advantage of them. They had time-consuming drives, but the score was not an indication of this game. Barberton really shot themselves in the foot. They relied way put them in a lot of third and long little running room. Barberton is a young team. They will be back next year for sure. But let's look ahead to next week for the Scotties. A lot of banged-up dogs on that sideline, Blake. Aiden Fritter left in the fourth and had ice on his right wrist. And Luke Fargus appeared to pop his shoulder out of place, but it was popped back in by one of his teammates. So next Friday, the Scotties take on another undefeated team, the Wadsworth Grizzlies, who narrowly beat Worcester 42-38. Game time is set for 7, with the location still to be determined.
Nick, thanks a lot for braving the cold out there. Scotties in week 12 again. Thanks a lot. Get home safe. All right, folks, we're naming our Player of the Year candidates a little differently this season. Throughout this episode, we'll be revealing them one by one. And here's the first. This one is the TVC Ohio champion.
Sure, boys.
It was under center tonight for a playoff game. Well, we're going to show it for you. Apologies for technical difficulties. That one's Clay Davis. The Bulldog quarterback had a great season, dual threat guy, and he had a playoff game tonight out against Bishop Hartley. We're tossing over to Tommy in the film room, who went out to that game tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Bishop Hartley. Number 1 seeded Bishop Hartley, I might add in, Blake. So the Bulldogs, if they wanted to get the job done and pull off the upset, they needed to play as flawless as you get. You see there when we take the highlights. Look at those 2 little guys. They're 3. They're ready for some Bulldog football, but Hartley, here they come. They fake me out. I think they're going left, but here comes Phil Cole down the right sideline. He's going to dance his way into the end zone for the score. 7-0 Hartley. Next Hartley possession, Jalen January. Blake, that is a football name. This is a big boy football run. 14-0 Hartley. Athens and Coach Adams, they're trying to stop the bleeding, and his boys, they would respond. Clay Davis rolls out to his right, dumps it off to Nate Trainer, and he's going to motor his way into the end zone. 30-yard score there. 14-7 Bulldogs. Then next Bulldog drive, it's 21-7 Hartley. So the Bulldogs are matching Hartley blow for blow. It's Logan Maxfield on the 19-yard connection from Davis. 21-14 Bulldogs, Maxfield, and the Bulldogs, they're fired up. They're still in this game, and Isaiah Butcher, Blake, he's going to love this next play. Double reverse, and all I heard, Blake, was, he's wide open! Joey Moore finds a wide open Nate Trainer for the 35-yard connection, but that play ends, that series drives on an interception, and that leads to this. Miles Fleming breaking Bulldog defenders, and Blake, he's got a date with the end zone. 38 yards for the score, and well, Bishop Hartley, they roll 51-14. They end the Bulldog season.
Yeah, so Tommy, Hartley really kind of ran away with this one in the end, but it seemed like a close one early on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Bulldogs, they showed why they belonged in this game early on.
Yeah.
But again, like as I was saying, the early miscues that really cost them in this one. So, we'll see. I know that going forward for the Bulldogs, it was tough, but hey, let's take a look at kind of what kind of cost them in this game. And I mentioned earlier in my highlights, Joey Moore botched a punt early in the first half that led to Hartley's first score. Then they missed opportunities in the passing game, and you have to hit on those deep throws in a game where Hartley scored at will. And Athens, they had a chance to score and make it a one-possession game with this pick by Davis, well, and it sealed the Bulldogs' fate, Blake.
Yeah, tough way for the season to end for the Bulldogs, Tommy, but successful season.
Oh, and absolutely. I mean, Athens' goal was to win the Ohio, and they did just that. Davis, Maxfield, and Evan Adams, they left their mark on this program, that's for sure. And for the Bulldogs, they returned 3 of their top 4 receivers, so that does soften a bit of a blow.
Certainly does. Look to be competitive again next year, reach those same heights. Tommy, thank you. Now, while not in the playoffs, another Ohio team in Vinton County, they won 3 straight games to end the season, but the source of their true feel-good story wears a cheerleader uniform. Here's Noah in the Highlight Center.
Yeah, Blake, in MacArthur, there's one presence on the sideline that's felt by every fan, home and away. GG Brand journalist Nate Busilla is here to tell us all about it.
Noah, you know how football is played around here. It's a game of grit, speed, toughness, physicality, and smiles.
The team across the field show them the fights are here. Since the earth we were a team with the mighty cheer. Row, row, row.
She's really good about making people happy. I get that all the time, that just to have Brooke around makes them smile.
Meet Brooke Harbor, junior at Vinton County. Easily recognized by her beaming smile, it wasn't always that way for her. She was born with an intellectual disability caused by lack of oxygen to the brain.
Growing up and seeing her, not talking a lot, kind of being nervous around people and just kind of keeping to herself.
After taking a few years off, freshman year cheerleading tryouts were nerve-wracking for Brooke.
She was a little nervous. I was scared to death. I was afraid she wouldn't make it, and then we'd have to deal with that aftermath. But she made alternate, and the cheerleading advisors were wonderful. They worked with her.
As a result of her accomplishing her goal and making the team, her family has seen her break out of her shell.
She was, terrified the night or two beforehand. But when they told her that she made the team, she was, ecstatic. From that point on, she took it and she ran.
She gets into the game. Whenever on the sidelines, I look over, I can see her cheering and stuff. It looks like she's enjoying herself.
It's fun.
It's fun? What makes it fun?
Because we do a lot of dances.
She's involved in choir, school musicals, church events, 4-H, track and field, and even cheering on her brother at his cross-country meets.
She cheers and claps for everybody going by, but when I come by, it's usually, you're near the back.
Watching her cheer has been absolutely amazing, because she went from being scared and real timid to outstanding in school and her academics. The community grows around her. They encourage her.
Interested in pursuing culinary arts, those around her agree the sky is the limit for this young girl.
She can do anything she puts her mind to. There's nothing that's stopping her.
Never let that team get the ball. Hell, the games are here. And I beat the Spartans now. Hey.
I'm gonna clap after that one.
It's for the Spartans.
Now, Noah, I know Vinton County season has come to a close, and I'm sure you folks are pretty disappointed you won't be able to catch Brooke on the field anymore this year, but guess what? They're in luck. You'll be able to catch her all winter long cheering on her Vikings.
Yeah, and that VC basketball team, good. Give her something to cheer about. Thanks, Nate. Now, time for another candidate reveal, and this one is the most versatile of the 5. This Washington Courthouse Blue Lion scored almost 30 touchdowns this season in nearly every possible way.
Let's not forget about one of his very electric receivers, Dylan Stewart, who scored touchdowns all over the place tonight in lots of different ways.
And ain't nobody going to catch this guy. Number 2 had 5 touchdowns on the night.
Dylan Stewart takes the kickoff return. Man, he makes that man miss. He stiff arms another, and that man is gone. Dylan Stewart, who gained a sizable chunk of yards. Dylan Stewart would score another touchdown here. Dylan Stewart.
A Week 10 win over rival Chillicothe punched Jackson's ticket to the postseason, their 4th appearance in 5 years. FAC reporter Will Collins saw them go against Granville tonight.
Noah, when the Ironmen met the Granville Blue Aces at Whitefield in Newark tonight, they were dealt a tough deck of cards, and the deck was definitely stacked against Jackson going into this one. Now, going into our highlights here, you see Coach Andy Hall pumping up his quarterback Jared Eisenhower before this critical playoff matchup. But early on in the game, Granville, Cameron Crouch into the end zone from 3 yards out. It's already 7-0 Granville in the first quarter. On the next Ironman drive, this is their first down of the game, but they wouldn't get many tonight, folks. And that drive would go nowhere. And on the next Granville drive, Cameron Crouch to Dominic Visaros. That's a 53-yard touchdown. They lulled the defense to sleep and put that one over the top. It's 14-0 Granville. Now on the ensuing kickoff return, Jaden Spires coughs up the football. and none other than Zach Walsh and the Granville Blue Aces fall on it, setting up Granville, but they wouldn't score on that drive. Now later on in the game, in the second quarter, Jared Eisenhower completes this pass to Bryce Graham, who fumbles the ball and falls on it. It's a gain of 20 yards, and the Ironmen are still in business. Now to cap off an 18-play drive with 25 seconds to go in the quarter. On fourth down, you see Jared Eisenhower hit Brody Landrum from 11 yards out. It's 17-7 after a Granville field goal and a Jackson touchdown. Now you see Cameron Crouch complete the pass there and downfield, and Granville is still in business. They hit this reverse here. Dominic Vazaros, he's in the end zone from 14 yards out. That's another Granville touchdown. It was 17-7 at the half, but it finished up 38-7 tonight, Noah.
Yeah, Will, you hate to see that for the Ironmen. This was a game where they really struggled to score. How did Granville create those Jackson offensive woes?
Well, Noah, the Jackson offense really did struggle tonight early on, and Granville completely neutralized the Jackson rushing attack, and without success on the ground, the Ironmen were really ineffective. They were forced to throw the ball, but they didn't get much time in the pocket either. Jared Eisenhower was getting hit left and right.
And when Jackson hurt themselves, there was really no chance for a comeback.
They really shot themselves in the foot. At a couple points in this contest, there were a few bad snaps, and they just could not recover. And going into this full screen here, there's no way that the seniors at Jackson wanted this year to end, but their huge wins down the stretch got them into Week 11 in the playoffs, and for that, they should be proud.
Not to mention the school's first ever FAC title this season. Now, thank you, Will. Not to be forgotten, though, is FAC co-champ Hillsboro. Blake and Connor Mills have more on the Indians from the Red Zone.
Thank you, Noah. Hillsboro had a historic season this year and earned a postseason appearance for the first time in a while, since 2005. FAC reporter Connor Mills traveled to Columbus for their game tonight.
Blake, Hillsboro was back in the postseason for the first time since 2005, like you said, and they were looking to get their first postseason victory in school history. At Eastmoor Academy, the Indian fans packed the away bleachers for the first time in 13 years. It wouldn't be long until the Warriors strike first. Savon Edwards Jr. sweeps to the inside and sprints for 79 yards to the house. Mixed extra point, 6-0 Eastmoor. First quarter will pass, and some good defense from Hillsboro allows the offense to get going. Josh Keats with the run up the middle and powers his way for 13 yards. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keats again, this time for 12 as he slides to the 2. Burns will punch it in to tie the game at 6, but Mason Swain will sprint to the near side of the field and cruise into the end zone for a 2-point conversion. Indians up 8-6. Score remains 8-6 at the half, but the Warriors come out firing. A special delivery from a special teams returns the ball to the 38 yards to Hillsboro's 32-yard line. A loss of 3, that doesn't concern running back Micah Coleman at the least. From 35 yards out, Coleman puts Warriors back on top, 13-8. Hillsboro looks to respond, but the Warrior defense held strong. The same could not be said about their offense. Warriors, they fumbled 2 straight times to hold Hillsboro at bay, with the defense picking the tip Swain pass, first turnover for Hillsboro in the game. Eastmoor seals the momentum and steps up to win this game 34-14. Hillsboro ends their season with a 9-2 record.
Tough loss for Hillsboro, man. What do you think was the difference that decided this one tonight?
Well, really, Blake, the difference that I saw, the rain, it was slippery out there. It was almost like an ice rink. So very difficult. They're slipping around out there. And for Hillsboro, who's a run-heavy team, it hurt them on the ground. Yeah. And speaking about their running game, the Indian senior class has really got something to be proud of. This may sting tonight, but Mason Swain, Josh Keats, Deion Burns, and the entire Indians team should keep their heads held high. Hillsboro is co-FAC champions and reached the postseason for the first time in 13 years. A lot to look back on and smile for Coach Jack O'Rourke and the Hillsboro community.
So you want to take a look back at Hillsboro's historic season for us?
Absolutely. The Indians, they opened up their season with 5 straight wins and had a 9-1 regular season record. Hillsboro's backfield earned all FAC honors with Mason Swain, Josh Keats, Deion Burns, Lane Clough, Max Conover, and Mark Gallimore. It'll be interesting to see how the Hillsboro Indians reload their backfield for next year, as Burns, Keats, and Swain are all seniors. So that'll be something to look forward to and see how Coach Jack O'Rourke deals with this next season.
You rattled those names off like nothing. Good season for Hillsboro. Connor, thanks for going out to that game for us tonight. And our third candidate for Player of the Year is also a Blue Lion, and this is a sophomore who can sling it. From start to finish this season, the quarterback led a barrage of big plays for the Courthouse offense.
Gio Thomas, he drops back, he rolls out, and lets it fly.
Nobody anywhere else in our coverage can match the long bombs thrown by Thomas.
And Gio Thomas drops this nice touch pass.
And Gio Thomas's quick throw, the #1 play on the night.
Thomas with another bomb. Gio Thomas fakes the handoff, takes it himself into the end zone.
This Gio Thomas cat, he's really good, isn't he? All right, there you have it, Gio Thomas, our third candidate. Now, we saw Sheridan in the playoffs 2 years ago, but the Generals lost in the first round. MVO reporter Rebecca Markovitz is live at Bellbrook High School to tell us if they were able to change that this time around.
The upperclassmen on Sheridan have had a taste of the playoffs, like you said, but none of the Bellbrook players have played in a playoff game. Their last appearance was 2014, so they also had something to prove. Sheridan has their mean mugging faces on, ready to make a mark in the playoffs. Both teams went 3 and out on their first possession, and on Bellbrook's second, Champ King sacks Brendan Levensky, making sure the Eagles would not get anything there. Sheridan gets the ball but fumbles it, so Bellbrook's ball and Justin Sloan actually lost 6-6. Sheridan gets the ball, and Ethan Heller tries just about every direction to run on the field, finds an opening on the right side, and runs it in to tie the game 6-6 at the end of the first quarter. He gets cozy with our cameraman and his teammate. Bellbrook's first drive of the second quarter, it's Justin Sloan again. He puts the Golden Eagles up 13-6, and that's the score at half. Early in the Austin the ball 5 yards to tie the game 13-13, and not be more exciting except with this next play. Sheridan thinks that they will play defense again, but Bellbrook fumbles it, much to Sheridan's delight, and Sheridan goes on to 2 more 7-19.
Well, thank you for the update, Rebecca. We apologize for the technical difficulties for the folks at home, but both teams brought a fast-paced offense and high-pressure defense tonight. They definitely went with the running game, and for good reason. The ball was very slippery. Passes were risky tonight. And it was a really close game. The determining factor in this one was the 4 turnovers that the Golden Eagles had. Sheridan was able to capitalize on them. It was tied 13-13, and Shea Taylor had a crucial interception for the Generals, and they scored a couple plays later to break the tie. Bellbrook was putting a lot of pressure on Ethan Heller, though, and he responded well. Down 13-6 at half, they then scored 21 unanswered points in the second half. Did Sheridan to pull this one out. Now, Sheridan won their first playoff game since 2011 and proved they have what it takes to move on to the second round. They'll be playing Granville and familiar face Justin Baltimore next week. And we'll break down the last MVL team next, but you saw a whole lot of clips from our 4th candidate for Player of the Year. And if you're an MVL fan, his place on the list is no surprise. He's a southpaw gunslinger and a straight-up winner.
Quarterback Ethan Heller can execute even when his first or second option's not available.
They're led by senior quarterback Ethan Heller, who is putting up Player of the Year type numbers so far this season.
Ethan Heller breaking ankles, takes it himself.
That impressive stat line is really just par for the course this season for Heller.
And it's a 25-yard dime.
Ethan Heller, their quarterback, is an athlete. Watch out for him.
Rolling right along in the MVL, John Glenn qualified for their second straight playoff appearance, but their game isn't until tomorrow night. MVL reporter Joe Hennessy is here to break down what we might see in tomorrow's game against Indian Valley.
Yeah, Noah. Indian Valley's quarterback, Cade Williams, gets it done both in the air and on the ground. Their offense is putting up over 46 points a game. But for John Glenn, the defense is stout, and the offense is finding their way behind Joseph Clifford. And I'm going to show that here in the film room. First play. We don't have it up just yet, but here we go already. Kind of blocked you. It's all good, though. Screen pass to Joseph Clifford. He's going to catch it, take it 26 yards up the field, past the 50. Good field position for him, right? But we're going to slow it down on this play. Joseph Clifford, he's going to catch the screen again on the same play right here. But watch for the blockers up top. You got 5 blockers as soon as he catches the ball against 4 Tri-Valley defenders. And watch this lineman right here. Just gets a hand on him. Just enough to that 3rd level. Clifford makes a move. If you're John Glenn, you got to get the ball in his hands as soon as possible.
Yeah, Clifford's definitely an athlete. He is their big guy for their big plays.
Yeah, he is. But, football isn't a game with 11 people. I mean, it is a game with 11 people. It's not just one. So you got to have effort. And Score Perkins is somebody that you should look to. He's one of those guys that doesn't get it done on the stats, but is an effort guy. He finds people to hit, and one of his hits led to Clifford's 76-yard touchdown.
Clifford is obviously someone we are going to watch, but who else has helped this team get to where they are now?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Ben Larson. Ben Larson, he plays that athlete position of safety and wide receiver, and he has great body control. Playing wide receiver, you got to be able to break people down, and that's what he does. He is something efficient in that. And he won the quarterback. They're on the same page. He knows what he's doing. He's an athlete. Simple as that.
Yeah, John Glenn has a pretty good defense this season. Indian Valley with a strong offense could be unstoppable force and a movable object tomorrow night. Yep. And Blake and Sam are going to run through tomorrow's slate of TVC Hawking games in the Highlights Center. But before that, we've got our
Connor Wright. Man, how about Connor Wright?
He had himself a night. He is taking defenders with him.
Guess who it is? Connor Wright.
There he is, Connor Wright. That's another Player of the Year candidate for you. And speaking of Connor Wright, we're going to see him and the Tomcats tomorrow night. TVC Hawking reporter Sam Neesmith will be there, but she's here right now. She's here right now to break down the Tomcats.
That's right, Blake. All this talk about playoffs has got me excited to see what the Tomcats are going to make happen tomorrow night. If it's anything like we've seen this season, it's bound to be quite a show. Trimble's going into this game with a record of 9-1, with both their offense and defense performing at the top of their game. The Tomcats' strong offensive trio includes Wright with about 1,400 total rushing yards and just over 9 yards per carry. Senior Max Hooper's racked up about 800 rushing yards and 233 receiving yards. And at the helm, they've got quarterback Cam Kittle, who knows how to use his arms and his legs. He has 552 passing yards and a little over 600 rushing yards.
But Sam, I got to think the real star of this team is that dominant defense.
Absolutely. They've seen 7 shutouts this season, and they've only given up an average of 4 points per game.
So Trimble cruised into the playoffs, and they got the numbers to prove it. But what does their opponent look like?
Well, Fisher Catholic is in the playoffs for the first time since 2006 after only winning 4 games last year. Their offense scores 28 points per game, and their defense gives up roughly half that. They've also lost to Bern Union, who faces off against Waterford in their first round game.
All right, so let's talk some Waterford Wildcats now. They also have a first-round game tomorrow night.
Yeah, exactly. They take on the Rockets just like I mentioned, and they'll pose a tough test for their Hawking opponents. The Wildcats finished their season with a record of 8-2, falling to second place in the TVC Hawking behind Trimble. Whenever we talk about Waterford, we have to mention their offensive all-star Braden Belleville, who just broke the school record for career rushing yards. This season, he has well over 1,000 rushing yards, averaging almost 8 yards per carry.
You guys tell me he's not the only reason, though.
No way, they're deep. The team as a whole has been averaging about 36 points per game, and their defense gives up roughly 10.5 points per matchup. The Wildcats avenged their 2017 first-round exit earlier this season. They won't want to worry about that one again going into next year.
Surely not. And we got some good Hawking games to look forward to. Thanks a lot, Sam. Another Friday night down. There's some other teams that finished their season tonight, but some are moving on. Here's the updated brackets for regions that played tonight. Tri-Valley pulled out a win, but they're as the underdog, and they move on to face Wadsworth next Friday. Now 4 teams stepped into tonight with playoff hopes of Region 11, but only one emerges with those, and that one is Justin Buttermore is going to coach against Sheridan. They're the ones that move on, and that's a familiar matchup for Sheridan, but they're going into Week 12 with some high hopes. Now, we revealed all of our Player of the Years, and it's voting season, so go on our website and pitch your vote for Player of the Year. Join us for Week 12 as well. We'll all be here. Until then, remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.